Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra. In Kumasi, we are on Love 99.5 FM. We're on myjoyonline.com. We're live in all 16 regions on Amenuveve FM in Apawu, Bedering FM in Bumkrugu, Radio Max in Takrade. We're live on X Spaces. We're on Facebook. The Midday News is supported by Petrosol. Your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol is always a delightful experience. Also brought to you by Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC and HDP pipes and water tank. We are the only water storage tank with a level indicator, and where Duraplus goes, water flows. This afternoon, despite government efforts and investments running into millions of dollars, the Works and Housing Ministry says only 2% of Accra's flooding issues have been addressed.
The interventions that we're putting in, i.e. the Greater Accra Resilience and Integrated Development, the Garrett project, that we put in a lot of resources to be able to address the problem. We are solving only 2% of the flooding situation in Greater.
And after this dawn's rains, residents of Kisiman blocked some roads in the community over persistent flooding in the area.
Governments will come, will go. We just want actions to be taking place. This thing is made over so many years.
We're live in the area and decision time as the court gets set to rule on whether to admit Richard Jakpa's secret tape into evidence or not.
In our opinion, there cannot be any dispute about the relevance of this evidence.
It is not relevant so far as the determination of whether they are guilty or not guilty or the issues involved are concerned.
We're live in court for the very latest on this. But in Parliament, the minority NDC caucus has deserted the House in solidarity with the minority leader.
We clearly cannot sit in the chamber without our leader in our front. It's really that simple.
Also in this edition, Baumia, the driver's mate with a new dance, will tell you how the NPP flag bearer is riding on these new narratives to garner support for his presidential bid.
As vice president, I am like a driver's mate.
Me pese mon fastiano emami. Mon fastiano emami. But we have the card of ma. Share me the card of ma. Or don't me the card of ma.
We have details as his campaign team says the announcement of his running mate will cause a huge surprise. On the other side, General Secretary of the NDC says despite the failings of the governing NPP, the NDC is not complacent ahead of the December 7 general elections.
So when you're dealing with a group like that, especially one that today believes that, listen, we've got the Electoral Commission working closely with us, you need to make sure you keep your eye on the ball.
We have sports, and then one High Court sentences 8 Western Togoland secessionists to 25 years in prison.
They intended to secede from Ghana 5 years ago, and that they wanted audience. They want to immediately inform the police. The police then monitored them up to Tumu when they went and made the Tumu Koro.
I'll take you live to please stay with me for more here on the Midday News. I am Emefa Apawu. Many thanks for staying with us. This is your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. We're digging now, and Ghana ranks highly among African countries that are most exposed to risks from multiple weather-related hazards. In the past 3 decades, the country has experienced 7 major floods. The devastating flood event in the Odo catchment on 3rd June 2015 led to the unfortunate loss of about 150 lives. But despite the investment of 450 million cedis in the National Flood Control and Priority Drainage Program, a World Bank $200 million also spent on the Greater Accra Resilient Integrated Development Program, that's the Garrett. The Ministry of Works and Housing say they have only addressed 2% of the country's flooding problem. Deputy Sector Minister Dr. Prince Hamid Ama tells my colleague Elton Brobe that more money is needed to fix the flooding challenge in Ghana.
For us to be able to comprehensively address our flooding situations, we need to do a proper demarcation, and mapping out of all the regional landscape, all the drainage system that we need to create. So that's what the master plan is trying to do. If you take Greater Accra, the interventions that we're putting in, i.e. the Greater Accra Resilience and Integrated Development, the Garrett project, that we put in a lot of resources to be able to address the problem. We are solving only 2% of the flooding situation in Greater Accra. So that's so it requires a lot of investment.
So we don't have a handle on the matter.
We need to really work hard, and to be able to do that is to be able to map out the drainage system and then we can then estimate. Because if you don't have the plan, you cannot even budget.
So from policy position, what will it take for us to have 100% coverage if we are doing just 2% now?
It requires a lot of investment, a lot of investment, which we cannot. I don't think that government alone will be able to do that. That's why there are several financing models to this type of enterprise. If we wanted them to be on the books of government alone, it's going to take us many years to be able to achieve that.
Recently, the Garrick project, Parliament approved another tranche. What exactly is it going into?
The additional 150 million will go into a part of it as rescoping of the project, compensation, which was not originally part. So we have Kaneshi, Accra Academy area coming. They were not originally part. We've done a rescoping and going to add them into it, and then also ensure that the people who live along that stretch who will be affected are appropriately compensated.
That's the Deputy Works and Housing Minister, Dr. Prince Hamid Ahmad, there speaking to my colleague Elton Brobe on the Pulse. You want to catch the Pulse at 3 p.m. every day on the Joy News channel. Joy News is finally also learning a master plan to address the drainage situation in the Greater Accra and the Ashanti region. Well, Head of Drainage, Ghana Hydrological Authority, Richard Kofi Ameko, says works done at Santa Maria and Pokwase have helped mitigate flooding in these communities.
So as of from 2018 till now, in Greater Accra alone, works that has been done, it's all because we try to identify hotspots within Greater Accra where we are able to take off some bottlenecks to allow water to flow. So if you go to some of the communities, such as Medina, Oblogo area, they will attest to that effect. If you go to Santa Maria, I don't know, some years ago, you do hear that Santa Maria, any little downpour, the whole place floods. These interventions were put in the Iron Seat Kaswa. If you go to Kaswa Enclave, yes, this National Flood Control Program has been very, very effective in those areas. And I also have a little bit issue with ECG.
Why?
It's simply because people are building in waterways, wetlands, estuaries.
Even the Ramsar?
Yeah, good, the Ramsar sites. The next time you see electricity poles, mounts all over. So I ask myself, it is more or less like it's encouraging people
to build anyhow. Because once they apply for electricity, electricity will be extended to them. Does it mean that ECG doesn't cross-check to say that, let me check with Assembly whether this property deserves to be here?
So they are also part of the experts, the stakeholders we are bringing on board.
Well, we'll get to hear from the Greater Accra Regional Minister shortly, but this dawn, the rains came down again and resulted in flooding in some communities in the capital. At Kisiman, for instance, the residents blocked some roads, demanding attention to the flooding situation in the area. We can hear from some residents.
Before, we are having a stock area, the place they have put this story bedding. If it rains, it's stuck there, then it start to move small. They sold the place to a certain man. They say it's an old soldier. Now the person has filled the place. So if it rains, the rain doesn't go. So it falls through. That's why the people are suffering. Some houses are there. Before some years ago, if it rains, it doesn't enter to their house. It goes to learn. But it do move people, but not like this. But since they sold the place to the man and they filled the place, the whole place is flooded. If it rains,
but the NADMO officer says it will take more than pulling just that structure off. It will take a lot of structures to be pulled off. Are you ready for that?
I'm ready for that. If they do that, everybody will free.
Well, and that's a resident there interacting with my colleague Kenneth JC, who is in the community. He joins us on the line live now. Kenneth, tell us what the situation is as we speak.
Well, as we speak, the gridlock is building up. Traffic is building up because we see Zoom Lion come to clear the debris that happened as a result of the flooding. We've also seen the MC for North, also East, also here to assess the situation. Now, NADMO is calling for the demolition of the houses along the banks of the bridge because they say anytime it rains heavily, like it did this dawn, the water levels of the stream that passes under that bridge rises to the windows of the houses along that stretch, which stagnates the movement of the stream, thereby causing flooding as it did today. And the first step towards solving this issue, according to NADMO, is demolish those structures.
On getting to the place, I can see that they had blocked the road, and that this place is a transit place for people coming all the way from Kwamina and to Accra. So we got to this place and we had to talk to them, but they didn't listen to us. They had to call in the police to come in. The police came, they didn't listen to them. So over almost about 2 hours, there was no movement of cars. Those coming from Accra couldn't drive through. Those coming from Piletu also could not go through. We have to go back to redirect all the cars to go back to Domingue. So it took an intervention of one NADMO officer who lives in Domingue, who happens to be an ex-army officer. He came to engage the guys seriously before he gave way.
So that's a NADMO official there interacting with my colleague JC. We've also been hearing from the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Titus Glover, who says a plan exists to desilt all gutters.
The assemblies, that is their responsibility. All the drains around, we need to desilt it and make sure any little downpour, the water will just flow. It is everybody's responsibility. Because somebody sits his home, he has put refuse in his bin. He is praying for the rain to fall. Wrap it in the bin, then throw it into the rain. And is it my duty? It's not. And it's not a male. It is everybody's responsibility to help us to cleanse some of these fields. So we'll do our best. And you, the residents, it is your duty also to collaborate with us and do what is right.
That's the Greater Accra Regional Minister Titus Glover. We stay a while longer in the sector, this time focusing on rent charges and issues about housing. And we've been hearing from the Works and Housing Ministry, who says although it has no intention to control rent charges in Ghana, it is exploring ways of protecting vulnerable tenants from exploitation by landlords. Speaking on a working visit to the Rent Control Department, Deputy Minister for Works and Housing, Dr. Prince Hamid Ama, indicated that his outfit is working to find middle grounds that will protect investment of landlords while checking against exploitation as well.
There's an act before Parliament where we have the rent law. We want to sitting is ended and also ensure that we strengthen the capacity of the department to be able to deliver the mandate that have been espoused in the in the act that they are operating with. So exactly that's what we want to do, and also do so by strengthening the digitalization process that they have started. That's exactly what we want to do to support them.
Will this new law also deal with the high charges or perhaps the long-term advances that landlords take from people?
So we live in a very liberalized economy where people get their own resources and build their own houses. We want to avoid a situation where you are controlling the government also has a responsibility to protect the vulnerable.
That's Dr. Prince Amma speaking to my colleague Blessed Soga. Of course, he's with a team and joins us on the line. So, Blessed, it appears that it's not just the rent control that the minister is visiting. Tell us more.
In a few minutes from now, we're expecting the Deputy Minister, who's been touring a number of agencies under the Works and Housing Ministry, to move towards the Public Works Department. The focus will be about the government's resilience program, which is targeted at checking flooding. It's been a perennial problem, and the Deputy Minister will be seeking to hear from the regulatory agencies and also development partners in a few minutes from now on how this challenge can be addressed. For now, he's at the Real Estate Agency Council, where he's been touring the newly outdoor facility, and will be updating the public on the situation of the flooding in a few minutes from now.
That's my colleague Blessed Soga bringing us update on that working tour of the Works and Housing Ministry. Now, in some few minutes, an Accra High Court in Accra will decide whether to admit an audio recording involving the Attorney General and businessman Richard Jakpa as evidence in the ongoing ambulance case. The controversy arose when lawyers representing Minority Leader Dr. Kaisa Forcing attempted to introduce the audio recording into evidence. The Attorney General objected to this move, challenging the foundation and relevance of this particular recording. We can hear the Deputy Attorney General, Alfred Tia Yeboah.
Yeah, when it comes to motions, the judge explained, motion for mistrial, that document was exhibited and the judge said she was going to consider because the base of mistrial was that something untoward had been done. And the judge needed to ascertain whether from the tape something bad had been done by the learned AG. And the judge was so clear that AG was not heard on that tape suggesting that the third accused person should implicate the first accused. So that is settled, sealed. If you want to tender, you must show that it is relevant to the issues we are going to contest in this matter. And that's why we demonstrated that it is not relevant so far as the determination of whether they are guilty or not guilty or the issues involved are concerned. So if you are conversant with the decision in Rafe Kubaji and Accra and others, it's to the fact that you cannot record someone secretly without a person's consent. And that if you want to record and that recording borders on criminal conduct, then that recording will be properly carried out.
But lawyers on the side of the minority leader says that the Attorney General's conduct in the recording amounts to oppression of the accused, suggesting it undermines the integrity of the trial process. We can hear Communications Officer of the NDC, Sami Jemfi.
Number one, the tape is very relevant to the proceedings because it borders on exhibits before the court, Exhibit A and Exhibit V. Exhibit V is a contract between the government of Ghana and Big C for the supply of the 200 ambulances, which is what has led to this case in the first place. You also see Godfrey Dame talk to Jackpa on the tape about Exhibit A, which is the letter from the Ministry of Finance signed by the Deputy Minister for Finance, Honorable Atufosin, authorizing the Bank of Ghana to establish letters of credit in favor of Big C. So these are matters before the courts that are very relevant. If the AG as the prosecutor-in-chief is having conversations with an accused person about these exhibits, okay, and how the AG wants the accused person to testify about those matters which are before the court and are the issues for determination in the case, then in our opinion, there cannot be any dispute about the relevance of this evidence.
That's an earlier interaction between Sami Jemfi and my colleague Latif Idris. And the report he's giving me from the court is that businessman Richard Jackpa will mount the witness box in a few minutes to be cross-examined by lawyers for Dr. Kesela Tuforsing. And then also Richard Jackpa's testimony will, however, be preceded by a ruling by the trial judge on whether Jackpa's audio recording will be readmitted into evidence or not. And he tells me Richard Jackpa is in court and, as always, in a neatly pressed white African wear with a gold touch on the left breast down, a wristwatch, and of course ready for action, from what Latif Idris tells me from the court. But in Parliament, the minority side has boycotted the chamber in solidarity with their leader, Dr. Kesela Tuforsing, who is standing trial for causing financial loss to the state. My colleague James Aveji is in Parliament. He joins us on the line with more. So let's talk about what's happening in the absence of the minority.
Emefa, so the House is yet to begin sitting because Mr. Speaker is performing an important assignment, launching the Democracy Cup to celebrate 30 years of parliamentary democracy. But even ahead of that, before the House begins speaking, Member of Parliament for Bilsa South, Clement Apak, tells me that if their leader is not back before the House begins sitting, they would not be part of that.
In solidarity with our leader, anytime he's in court, we will not be in Parliament. So as long as he continues to go to court, we will continue to be out of the chamber in solidarity with him in court. Well, if he goes and the proceedings are over and there is still time for him to come to participate in the business of the House, you would see us as we did on Tuesday.
I haven't seen he himself, the deputy leader, as well as the chief whip. Are they all in court this morning?
Yes, that's the short answer. We clearly cannot sit in the chamber without our leader in our front. It's really that simple.
Are you not holding government business at ransom, parliamentary business to at ransom?
We don't believe so. I mean, we have not said that we are boycotting Parliament or we are boycotting sittings. Our action is only predicated on the days that our leader would be in court.
That's Dr. Clement Apak interacting with my colleague James Aveji. Let's focus on health now. And all Global Fund medications stuck in containers at the port will be cleared by the end of June. That's according to the Health Ministry, which says it has finally received 7.4 million Ghana cedis to finance third-party charges and other fees at the port. Well, this issue is coming on the back of some ultimatum, some threats that was given or issued by the minority and also Global Fund itself. Head of our health desk, Fred Smith, joins me in studio with details of the health ministry statement, right?
Well, indeed, it's been very difficult getting this information, but today the health ministry has reacted and they've given details of the commodities that have been stuck at the port, and they're saying that they received a total of 283 containers of various commodities from the Global Fund through the Tema port, with a breakdown as follows: Emefa mosquito nets, ITNs, pharmaceuticals, breakdown to ARVs, HIV, RDTs and ACTs, TB medication, medical devices and equipment, and the total number of containers 283. And it says that in accordance with the information above, the Ministry of Health, with the assistance of the Ministry of Finance, secured auction checks for the clearance of 218 containers, leaving an outstanding 64 containers without checks. However, the ministry's inability to clear the commodities at the port was as a result of third-party charges amounting to 7.429 million Ghana cedis. Further to that information, a request letter was sent to the Finance Ministry to assist in securing for the auction shed for their outstanding 64 containers, and among this we have TB medication and other items including mosquito nets. And this morning we are told that the ministry has received 7.4 million from the Ministry of Finance for the payment of demurrage for the clearance of all the Global Fund outstanding containers at the Tema port, and that amount is expected to complement the payment of third-party charges as they've mentioned above. And they are saying that by the end of the month all containers with Global Fund shipment should be cleared from the port.
And I know your team will definitely be watching that. That's head of our health desk, Fred Smith, giving his update on that particular issue, taking us on a quick break here on the Midday News, live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra and Kumasi. We're on Love 99.5 FM live on myjoyonline.com. It's proudly made possible by Petrosol, your clean fall in full quantity Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC and HDP pipes and water tank. Where Duraplus goes, water flows. We return from the break with sports, and Baumia, the driver's mate with a new dance, will tell you how the NPP flag bearer is riding on these narratives to garner support for his presidential bid.
As vice president, I am like a driver's mate.
Me pese mon fastiano emami. Mon fastiano emami. But we are in the car to mama. Share me the car to mama. Or don't be the car to mama.
When budgets are tight and money difficult to come by, you want to be sure you get the best value for your money. These are not times to be spending money fixing expensive engine problems because of cheap fuel and lubricants. Drive to a Petrosol station today and buy your quality fuel and lubricants, and rest assured of fuel that lasts long and lubricants that prevent expensive engine problems. Hear the sound. Petrosol, clean fuel in full quantity.
The regular football season is over. But not for us here at Supersport. We've got a big deal coming your way. Get connected to DSTV to see some of football's biggest names starring in all 51 matches of Euro 2024, live and in HD. Now that's a big deal.
Thanks for staying with us. It's time for sports. Fentuo Tahiru Fentuo is here.
Hello, Emefa. Yeah.
What's in sports?
Well, we're still trying to understand what exactly happened in that game between Dreams FC and RTU yesterday. As you may have heard, it emerged that RTU paraded a bunch of players who were unregistered to play the game, which they lost by 8-1. The players, the registered players, have said that they were not in the Wu for that particular game. So the question then is, if the registered RTU players were not the ones that partook in the game, who were those players? We called up this reporter in Tamale.
After the refusal of the registered players to travel with the team because management had actually failed to pay them for the last 5 months, the decision was taken by the CEO and a few management members that why not take, a second division club that is quite known in the region, is quite known in Tamale to play or to go and stand in for Real Tamale United. They decided that, okay, Galaxy FC, a second division club we don't know in Tamale, is there. Let's go and then talk to them, take the players for this particular game. And for me, that is quite unfortunate. I keep on asking myself questions as to who gave them that decision, who advised them.
And that matter is now being investigated by the Ghana Football Association. And now RTU's last game of the season against Great Olympics is in jeopardy, because until they are able to get all their players from Tamale to Accra for that match, it will not come off.
Definitely following that to see how it goes. Let's get into the election headquarters now. And your election headquarters is made possible by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. CIMA, the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, CIMA, AICP and CIMA together as the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants, the German Ozone Medical Center, Alternative Therapy, Dental, Wellness and Beauty, Chopbox Technologies, a convenience service, and Youth Bridge Foundation. And this afternoon, Vice President and NPP flag bearer Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia appears to be using a narrative to garner support for his presidential bid, first likening himself to a driver's mate and the current president as a driver. He's also urging people to vote for him and entrust him with the role of driver, promising to lead the country effectively. He also seems to be using a new dance and engaging in activities considered to be youthful to connect with young people. Maxwell Agbagba has more in this report.
NPP flag bearer Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia at one of his campaign events urging electorates to hand him the steering wheel and put him in the driving seat as president. This was after he said during his address to the nation that he was only a driver's mate.
As vice president, I am like a driver's mate. But by the grace of God, if you make me the president, I will be in the driver's seat.
The comment received criticism from some political analysts. Despite the backlash, Dr. Bawumia remains unfazed. He has now incorporated a new dance move which mimics driving into his campaign. This dance is performed to a song by hip-life musician Guru, in which the lyrics have been changed to quote, "Bawumia, I'll give you the car," unquote entry. The NPP flag bearer and vice president was seen dancing enthusiastically to this tune during a Youth Connect event. Just this week, Dr. Bawumia was seen singing King Palute's Asida together with the musician. Professor Eche Sikanku is a political and communication analyst. He has done an analysis of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as a vice president. He recently launched a book he authored titled Dr. Bawumia and the Modern Vice Presidency in Ghana. He says the NPP flag bearer's approach is resonating with people.
The use of metaphors in Ghana's political discourse or political space is not new, and it's definitely not a rare thing when it comes to presidential discourse or political discourse in other parts of the world. As a matter of fact, it has been established that metaphors are very much a part and parcel of everyday reality, and that they are fundamental to our understanding and ability to make sense of everyday events. So he latched onto this particular metaphor in order to communicate his language, and that is very, very much a common practice in political discourse, and no wonder that it resonated with a lot of.
And that's Maxwell Agbagba's report. It's still a while longer in the election headquarters, and the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Fifi Kwete, says the party will remain vigilant before, during and after the 2024 general elections. According to him, despite widespread dissatisfaction with the governing New Patriotic Party for shepherding the country into hardship, it will not stop at nothing to retain power. He's been speaking on PM Express.
It's normal in politics sometimes to see, should I call it, the level of frustration, the level of anger, the level of disappointment, the economic meltdown, the suffering that is going on, and assume that somehow that is going to be enough for you to win an election. But I can tell you that for many of us who have been here before, I mean, who wrestle to take MPP out of power the last time when they were in power, we know that you never are complacent, especially when you are dealing with a desperate political party. This particular political party we are dealing with here is literally an entity that cares about nothing but power. That's really what it is. Fundamentally, it's about power for them.
That's the General Secretary of the NDC, Fifi Viavikwete. The full interview on PM Express available on all our social media platforms. And we're still watching the court. An audio recording between Richard Jakpa and Godfred Yeboadame has been readmitted into evidence in the ongoing trial. Latif Idris is there for us and we'll bring you all the updates that you need to get. And it's time for MJ.
Yeah, we missed
Glad
you.
to see you. You know, back in high school during debates, we used to appeal to higher authority. Let me appeal to higher authority and say our elders once said what? Our elders usually say, leave no be pension.
Yeah. It wasn't a leave, it was working. What are people talking about?
A lot, no?
A lot. They are talking about Camido. Camido has dropped a new song.
But before Camido, Dreams FC and Real Tamale United is trending after the whole impersonation saga. Let me read just one comment here. And this one says that they learnt it from Ghana's parliament. I know, Emefa, you know the story of... Yes, we've seen this in Ghana's parliament before.
What else are they talking about? Let's talk about Camido.
Yeah. So Camido says he's been inspired to drop a song. He posted this on X. He said, thank God for the grace to be able to put music again together. It's been crazy, but here we are. I hope you enjoy and learn to love whom you love in the most healthy way possible. And we're hearing that this song was inspired by heartbreak.
Yeah.
Yes,
at this point, at this point, I need inspiration to do something. So I need a heartbreak.
I
have to be motivated.
It inspires creativity. Let's get out of here. And that's how we wrap up today's edition of the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I am Emefa Apawu. Many thanks for your company. Have a good afternoon. Living Word with Pastor Mensortable. The father and his household is up next. Please stay.
Of the long queues in the supermarket? Pay with Momo. When you really want that beautiful new blouse,